Now, I think over time, my view of the shadow functions of the INFJ has become, if not the reverse of what I used to hold, namely that there were no shadow functions. Um, at least something quite a bit more sophisticated, at least I would like to think so. I now do believe that we can talk about shadow functions. Um, so there's caveats, of course, but that's a major change, which hopefully shows that I'm capable of changing my mind and seeing the nuance where it needs to be seen. And I think that we can benefit from like descriptive enrichment of the INFJ personality if we make room for something with which we may call the shadow functions. But they're not going to be the shadow functions in the sense of our four stack cognitive, four function stack. Okay. They are quite different in nature and in texture. So to understand this first, if you pay attention to this whole idea of a shadow function, I mean, you have to admit that the shadow is in the unconscious. It's not the whole of the unconscious, but it's in the unconscious. Now, if you believe that individuation, which in the case, say, of INFJs, is what I call spiritualization, if you believe that it involves, among other things, integrating the shadow, then the shadow is no longer a shadow. It's something different because it's become integrated, okay? It's part of the conscious personality insofar as it's integrated. It's no longer unconscious, right? What's unconscious is not integrated, okay? So as long as that hasn't happened, okay, what this means is that the shadow remains unconscious. And insofar as we can put what looks like Fi, Ne, Si, and Te in there, that's going to remain unconscious, okay? So insofar as it manifests in the everyday life of, for example, an INFJ, it's not going to manifest in any way like conscious use, right? It's going to manifest as something that is very much outside your control and happens, in fact, despite your best intentions. I think that's a good way of pushing it. If an INFJ manifests Fi or T or any of these shadow functions, usually they will manifest despite their best intentions. And insofar as their shadow functions, they will tend to be quite volatile, fragmented, and probably negatively charged. I mean, they're part of the shadow for a reason, right? So perhaps the most important adjective here is fragmented. It's not like it will be a conscious, continuous use of a function to deal with a particular situation. It'd be like just sudden little happenings, just like bursts of something not integrated, maybe something that was repressed, probably something that was repressed, that's why it's in the unconscious, something that's not liked, and yet it manifests, and it probably can be a source of a certain degree of angst for the INFJ or the other type that experiences it. They won't be able to kind of cognize that as the emergence or the eruption of a shadow function, partly because it's not really a function. I'm happy to call it a shadow function if you like, but it's really more like a bit, a fragmented bit, that's kind of taken out of like the cohesive function system. And that's why it's in the unconscious, and that's why it usually stays there. I'm not against the possibility that it erupts in a certain form in the life of an INFJ and the life of other types, but the question remains open: what happens when someone individuates? Again, if you do believe that individuation means integration of the shadow and therefore integration of the shadow functions, what that essentially means is that there's a lot of assumptions folded in this, but again, if you believe all these, then you will have to give an account of how an individuated INFJ, for example, or an individuated ISFP, what have you, how do they manifest conscious use of the 8 functions? Can we see that in certain people? I'm not too sure. I think that to a large extent, even among really integrated, individuated INFJs, the shadow functions remain fragmented because it's their destiny. But let me know what you think on this particular topic. I remain open. Don't forget, I've written 2 books on the INFJ. My latest one is The Infinite Soul, INFJ Life in Modern World. Check the first link below if you're curious. It's helped a lot of people. It's a beloved book. So is my first book on the INFJ, The Ecstatic Soul, New Look at the INFJ Personality, which is the deepest investigation of the type that you'll find online as a book. And finally, guys, don't forget you can support me on Patreon. It would help massively toward helping me keep going with this channel so I can produce quality content for you. You know that in return, you get access to the Discord server as well as bonus videos by myself every 2-3 weeks on a topic of your choosing. So hopefully see you there. See you soon, guys. Bye-bye.